The following session, AI for Productivity, is an initiative by the Gray Matter community, featuring William Shields, AI entrepreneur and speaker.
Gonna not get rich along the way, so let's just roll with it, man.
That's
Like
just
that's
the
what
roll
it's
of it, yeah.
that's what it's about. You can still do good and make a lot of money at the same time. They're not mutually exclusive. Anyway, so let's talk a couple things about a couple things that I like to at least so we're all on the same sheet of music. When you hear the word AI today, it gets interchanged with a whole bunch of stuff from data science, big data, deep learning, machine learning. As far as kind of like what all this encompasses, when someone says artificial intelligence, here's all the little valences in that universe and how they overlap. Because some data science uses AI, some data science doesn't, uses classical methods. But deep learning and machine learning definitely fall under the field of artificial intelligence. But when we hear AI in the news today, more than likely they're talking about generative AI or interactive AI.
Yeah.
Things like chatbots, personal assistants, maybe some text-to-speech or speech-to-text terms. But we've interacted with AI for years. I mean, some of the underlying algorithms and backpropagation date back to the 1950s and 60s. So things like computer vision, semantic search, labeling, all these different types of AI that are very mature that we've been using for years and years and years have been around us. And we maybe didn't label it as such or didn't know that it was AI. But the generative AI boom here has really captured the hearts and minds of the world early. So recent poll conducted I think it was about 10,000 people. And this is how it shook out in terms of like how much had they used it or heard of it versus what is it. And that categorizes used and heard of it. Is more of a representation of heard of it. If you go down, they had another graphic that showed how much had used it, and it follows about the same trend line, but it starts at 13% for ChatGPT down to less than 1% for Stable Diffusion. So just by factor of that we are here talking today, like you are in the early adapters. Like this is not proliferated the zeitgeist. And frankly, a third of the world still doesn't have internet connectivity. So is this, why would this be on their radar? This is not the stuff that they're concerned with, So I bring that to bear because, in our world, and if you really are an AI enthusiast and an evangelist of it, it can be like, everything's happening, everything's around to most of the world. None of this stuff has happened yet. It's still a novelty. I think businesses know that it's going to change things. They don't know how and how much yet. And the ones that refuse to, well, it's going to hit them in the face. That's all I got to say. So, what's a language model? That's the big thing that got the world kind of captivated when ChatGPT came out. As simply as I can describe it, okay? AI systems for natural language tasks use vast text data, calculate the most likely output based on an input. Okay, so these things, while they makes it feel like they're thinking and reasoning, no, they are solving a math problem every time. Your input prompt gets encoded into a string of vectors, right? Each character that ChatGPT knows has a different numerical value associated with it. A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, capital A is 27, so on and so forth. I think ChatGPT knows something like 550 different characters, right? So all those get encoded into these different strings of vectors. And the math problem that these language models are trying to solve, leveraging the transformer model that they're built on, they go, okay, I have read the entirety of the internet, the whole public internet, and I've saved that as a three-dimensional vector database. It's called a Latin hypercube, right? I've saved that over here. It's compressed like 50,000 to 1, too, by the way, compared to the actual data versus when it's in numerical vector format. So I've read the whole internet. Someone put this input string of numbers in. I know 50,000 words in the English language and how probable they pop up on the internet from that training data. So given all the words I know and the fact that I've read all this information, what is the most likely output given the input? So they literally tries to solve a math problem called the singularity, where it gets the most probable output. That's kind of like as baseline as I can get it. There's more to it, like GPT-4 has 127 alignment layers that prompt goes through before you actually read it, to get it to think a little bit more and reason like a human would. But simply put, it's read the internet, it knows 50,000 words. Given the input, what's the most probable output? Based on how often and frequently it shows up on the internet in these combinations. What the magic is about the transformer model is it leverages something called attention, and specifically self-attention, because it knows how all those little words and characters and phrases relate to every other word and character and phrase in that big stack. And I'll give you an example of that here in a second. So if you don't know, all this stuff is measured in what's called a token, right? GPT-5, 4K token context window. You can kind of think of it as memory, right? It can only memorize about 3,000 words that are going in and coming out before it starts dropping some context, right? It'll give you an output, but it won't remember something you put in X number of words ago. And unfortunately, it also doesn't happen sequentially. It kind of drops off in random, places like that. We think of it as happening sequentially, especially because the way ChatGPT outputs it, it goes left to right like we read text. That's just a visual depiction to, kind of delight us. When the language model processes the input vector, it reads every character, every token of text on the screen, everywhere, all at once. It doesn't like read it left to right. It just kind of like absorbs it. But the tokens are done in kind of three specific ways. There's other tokenization schemas, but character, syllable, and word are the most simple kind of three token schemas. So this is an example from the tokenizer. You can search that, ChatGPT or GPT, OpenAI, tokenizer.openai.com. You can put text in, see how many tokens it comes out to, if you're ever worried about busting that context window. GPT-4, considered probably the best LLM out there presently, has a 32,000 token context window, so about 25,000 words. But Claude from Anthropic has a 100,000 token context window. You can drop entire books in there if you want. Say, hey, you've read this book now, summarize it for me. It might not be the best summary if that's all you ask it to do. You're probably going to need a prompt that's a little juicier, but that's essentially what it's doing. And there's some research coming out for some million token context models. Like it's going to blow our minds. It's an exciting time.
I can imagine.
I think I took the picture out, but kind of about what GPT-5 is speculated to be in terms of size and parameters. I'll get a little in the weeds because I feel like this is an audience for it that can handle it. Here, actually, give me 1 second. I'll pull up that picture real quick. So like this is an example of a bunch of models as of 2023. These are all language models. Okay. There's 240,000 language models. You can go on Hugging Face and see the live ranking and download them and stuff like that. So some are built for different kind of use cases, different sizes. GPT-4 over here is speculated to be 1.2 or 1.3 trillion parameters. The way to think about a parameter is kind of like a connection in the brain, synapses. Yeah. So if the goal is AGI, artificial general intelligence, all right, well, we have 100 trillion parameters, quote unquote, 100 trillion synaptic connections in our brain. So if we have to get 100 times bigger than where we're at now with GPT-4 and having a trillion parameters, that's a lot of text we have to feed it. So this is an example of what the amount of text that needs to be fed into these models to train one parameter, 20 to 1. So it's this ratio called the chinchilla coefficient. Basically, it goes, or chinchilla scale here. It's the number of tokens of text you need to feed it to train one parameter. So to get one parameter out of GPT-4, they needed to feed it 20 tokens of text, right? So it's speculated that it has 1.3 trillion tokens of, or 1.3 trillion parameters. So it should have been trained on about 20 trillion tokens of text. It was only probably trained on about 13. So bridging that gap is 1 million lines of code that have been written that kind of function as artificial connections that these neural networks didn't draw themselves. The issue with that is if 13 trillion tokens was the training set that's speculated, and it includes the entirety of the public internet, where else are you going to start getting this data from? That's why you see, you see Zoom and Google and all these companies quietly changing their terms and conditions, because they're going to need our data, text that we're speaking, turned into written language to feed and train language models. So it's an interesting thing from a privacy perspective, because the amount of text that was needed to train GPT-4 it's like the same amount of text in every Bible that's ever been printed around the. So that's a lot. So, I mean, it's going to be an arms race for training these things in the next couple of years. All right. Sorry, in the weeds, I know. So, real quick demo, how do LLMs work? All right, answer this question in your head. I'm going to the store to pick up a gallon of blank. Most likely response, hey, probably milk. Yeah. See, you got it. You got it, man.
That's a really good thing.
Right. So what about this question? I'm going to the hardware store to pick up a gallon of what? What do you think? Paint, gasoline, something like that. So all of the words in the sentence have keyed off of the fact that there's another word in here called hardware, which contextualizes the amount of time on the internet they appear in relation to this word. So anytime that kind of singularity is found, these are the most likely responses. As basic as you can put it, that's how LLMs work. Okay, I think we talked about their probabilistic, ability to reason, compute, all that. We know that their GPT-4, for example, doesn't have access to the live web. It's trained into that vector database already.
Yeah.
It stops at September 2021. It'll say it does, but it doesn't. So it can only remember certain number of words, has the context window. And there's this thing called hallucinations. You need to check and review sources. A couple examples. Anyone know the answer to this question? What highway did Minnesota dedicate to Prince? So ChatGPT says Minnesota dedicated a portion of Highway 5 to Prince 2018, naming Prince Memorial Highway, Highway 5, blah, blah, blah. Right? Only problem? None of that's true. That didn't happen. Right? Sounds like it did.
Yeah.
Super convincing.
Yeah.
And you get some of the stuff. Okay, yeah, Prince is from Minnesota and Paisley Park is what his estate was called, but none of this happened. None of it's true. If I put who is Wes Shields in ChatGPT, it comes out as I was an American football player, offensive lineman, University of Alabama, played for Eagles and the Falcons. Well, look, I did play 1 year of college football, but I did not play in the NFL. The reason it shows, I put this picture here, this is the offensive lineman Wes Shields that did play in the NFL, but he played for the Chiefs. And is in the Hall of Fame. So because my name is close enough to his name, ChatGPT just goes, all right, well, this is probably this. So that's an example of hallucination. They're trying to train this out of it, but it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
And the thing I tell people, especially whenever someone shares like a text to video clip that's kind of janky, it's just like, this is the worst it's going to be. It's only going to get better. So yeah, the fact that it looks a little weird that generated video has some artifacts, has some different kinds of here actually I'll do one more real quick. I'll show you guys one that the South Korean company did that really kind of surprised me.
That is really cool.
So like, look, don't get me wrong, it's still pretty janky, right? Like that's not going up on a big screen anytime soon.
Yeah.
But that's a 3-sentence prompt that took 20 minutes to render. Like
that's really
easily
cool.
like, and there's 15, 20 seconds of footage that is totally usable, like in a trailer or even a movie, like within that, you know? So if this is the worst it's going to be, like, you know, I really feel for a lot of these writers in LA right now, because there's like animation. That's the first thing that's going. It's going to get AI generated.
Yeah, and I got like really Duna vibes out of this trailer, and even like the main character looks like the guy from Duna, so that is like pretty impressive. Like that is so cool. I really like it. Yeah.
So these guys did they built a model, right, trained off of South Park images, right? South Park scripts, images, and the entire environment, right? Use diffusion models, all that. So they have a little playground in here. This is the paper they released with it. Looks like this, right? So the showrunner system. Put the title in you want, put the prompt in what you want, you select the characters that you want, and then the places that they're going to be, and it generates a 15-minute episode with the voices, with the animations. And if you don't watch South Park like all the time, like I don't, like that was like fooled me. Like that sounded, the story was funny. It was as crude as I'd expect. You know, had like Elon Musk in it, and I mean, like it. This is where it's going. Like we're not even going. We're here. You know, so some of the changes that are going to be are pretty monumental. However, we are here to learn about productivity, if I'm not mistaken. So let's get into some cool shit.
Let's get in. Yeah.
So I'm not going to go full on into prompt engineering with you guys, but I will show you a couple little basics and one method that we use that kind of helps us contextualize and write really, really good prompts. These are some real basics: role play, be specific, set the context, just try shit. Here's some examples of how to like ideate effectively with 0-shot prompts. I'll give you guys a link to this after. But the method that we have developed is this one called the scribe method, right? If you prompt this way, you can add little even subscribe methods within it to make it even more dynamic. And I'll give you an example of that here in a second. So give your role, specify, context, responsibility, and then interpret, and then have the interplay, this banter, and then evaluate. So why don't here's like an example of it, right? So if I wanted to make a email prospecting assistant for my Toys for Dogs startup, right? So here's my specify a context, or specify a personality or role. Here's my context window, okay? This is where you also add like frameworks and stuff like that. Give it a responsibility, okay? Here's what you want it to do. Then, if you understand, have this interplay. So easiest way I can show this is trying to bring love to our dinosaur friend Terry here. So if I did a prompt like you are an example, time traveling dinosaur expert, there's my S. C, you have just arrived in late Cretaceous period and you are here to study the local lives of dinosaurs and help a T-Rex get a date. Responsibility, jobs, create a witty and charming dating profile for Terry, the lonely T-Rex looking for love. Instructions, first ask me to provide details for Terry and then draft an outline for the profile. Lastly, drafting a profile with Terry with date. Like this is all you need to start with. And it's already better than anything you see on the internet. Like most of the stuff that I see content about, you know, or if you go buy someone's like 3,000 top marketing prompts, like that was freaking generated in ChatGPT. Like, let's be honest. And they're all zero shot prompts, like little single things that work like a Google search. So even just with these 4 steps, putting that in ChatGPT, you get a much, much different result. So an example convo using the banter, the B, where you're going to kind of go back and forth and ask questions. ChatGPT asked me, okay, what are Terry's interests? This is what Terry likes. Okay, great. Now some fun facts, because we're making a dating profile, right? It's okay. Renowned connoisseur of ancient ferns, secret talent. All right. So then you can ask it, hey, generate something for me. And go, all right, that's pretty good. Make it longer, make it shorter, make it more this, make it more that. And I'm going to show you guys some kind of interesting ways to play with some of the outputs in the banter section. Okay, pretty good, make it longer. So then goes again. Then evaluate it. This is where you can kind of create a little continuum where you can go, okay, from what you created, critique yourself. You know, convince me that this is not a good example. Give examples of how you'd improve it. Then you could ask it to implement those examples. And then you could do it again. And then you can do it again. You know, that evaluate section is really how you get from a watered down, generic-y GPT 3.5, even sometimes a 4 response to something that's like, okay, this is like 95% of the way there, like ready to better, make it better. Evaluate it, make it better. And thank you, Terry has found love. All right, so that's just an example of that. Here's one that I'll show off a little bit. You can extend that further, and since this model here, you know, only understands up to 2021, well, there's no talk about prompt engineering on the internet, right? Before that. So what can you do? You can create a meta prompt. So a prompt that makes other prompts following the scribe method. So I'm also happy to share any of these too. So this is, hey, I'm an expert in writing, communicating with large language models. All right. Adopt this behavior. Here's how I want you to respond. Okay. So, all right, it's going to ask us questions. I wish I had a prompt that, let's see, generate a checklist for me. Created checklists for different reasons. So this is that banter, because we've set it up to kind of have a communication and a collaborative approach, right? Okay, so now it's, so all you'll do now, it's you know, I've put it in 4, so hopefully get a little bit better results. And I have it output in a VBNet or a markdown code box, so you only have to hit copy code.
Copy, yep.
And then to keep going, all right, so now that you have your checklist prompt, all you do is copy that and paste that in here. Pretty simple prompt. You know, you can expand that and iterate some more. Packing list for a trip to New York. So it's going to do its thing there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But let's say, all right, well, that's giving me a list there. All right. But I wanted a checklist, you know, and maybe it's something that I want at a table so I can print it out and take it with me or something like that. So you could say output or regenerate output as a checklist formatted inside a markdown table. So there you go. Now it's going to do a tabular version.
Oh, that's cool. Because I was looking forward to how to do this, and now that is just explained.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. Yeah,
Sure.
that's
So
awesome.
so you notice here it has the breakpoints. So this is meant to be like copied and put in like a markdown viewer to be put online. But if you change it from markdown table to markdown code block, it'll be something that you can copy and paste really easily. And you can specify that more so, like I could generate as a checklist formatted inside a markdown table with column 1 being the category, column 2 being the items, and column 3 being a box to put a check mark, and then it'll add that as opposed to bunching them inside these items. It's just about being specific. If you were also going to say, put this in a, JSON file, you could do just that. Okay. Now convert to a JSON file. So now it's ready to go anywhere on the internet, and it'll show up as a checklist. So if you're doing a blog, you want to put this on your website, something like that. Once that finishes, we can copy it. It's almost done.
That's really useful.
Yeah. JSON format, bippity boppity. Oh, sorry. Oh, it's always a colon somewhere. What did I copy it too soon? Okay. And now view. And now view. So here's the preview of it. So that's how it would look online, and it's interactable now. So you plop that little bit of code anywhere on your site, and now you got dynamic tables. Sexy. Couple other cool things you could do with it. So let's say you run a, how about you run a travel blog, okay? So I run a travel blog and want to drive traffic to my site. So what might a sample user journey be? Okay, so it's going to do its thing in text, creating a user persona, pretty common thing in any kind of UX, UI design, or even any kind of process or program management. All right, well, what is in the mind of the consumer trying to come to our site? How do we make it as smooth a process as possible? What is that? So once this stops generating, I'll show you some swifty little tricks to do to it. GPT-4 doing its thing. I should have put in 3.5. It's all right. It's good stuff.
It is.
It gets you to good enough really fast. Okay, so now from the user journey, by the way, too, since these are probabilistic models, if you suck at spelling, like, they don't care. As long as there's enough likely letters around it, like, it'll get it. Because it's like, okay, well, whatever. It's in the context of that sentence.
Yeah.
So you don't even have to put spaces technically in the inputs and outputs. It'll still read it the same way.
Nice. Yeah, indeed, yeah.
Okay, from the user journey, please create a block diagram using the mermaid syntax. All right. So it doesn't matter if you don't know what that is. it's going to create it. You don't need to be a coder or anything like that to use this. It just shows up in a, Cody looking box, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You copy that, go over this little guy, Mermaid Live, right?
Mm-hmm.
Parse line 5, sorry. Here, let me just refresh. Now, keep in mind, sometimes it doesn't get it right either. Regenerate. So notice how that actually changed too. So like, that's what's crazy about these. We know how to make these incredible tools. We have no idea how they reason yet. That's why there's so much research coming out into it still. So now it's describing all the little nodes. And let's see if we can get it to show up in this flowchart. There we go.
No, there we go. Yeah.
Groovy, right?
Yeah, that's so cool. I mean,
so sick.
Yeah,
right.
It is.
And
it is
and
sick,
that's a simplified one, right?
Indeed,
if you get
yeah.
really specific, like with like a network diagram or a kind of code information flow thing, I mean, look like that, right? Just from your descriptions, you can bring it around.
That is impressive. Like
Isn't that dope?
Truly impressive. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's take it one step further. Let's go. Can you turn this into a sequence diagram? Also, too, if you use Mermaid Live, it has all the samples that it can create. So it can do sequences, flows, class, state, ER. So that's like for, what's it called? Waiting line theory, Gantt charts, user journey, GitHub, process flow, pie charts, mind maps, quadrants. You just ask it that. Okay, another one is called plant UML syntax. Okay. Of course, let's do a sequence diagram using plant UML that describes Jasmine's user journey. Again, you don't need to know what plant UML means or does. It's cool. It's let it do its thing, and then you'll kind of be able to just go, okay, logically, I see what this is doing.
Yeah.
I got it. So copy it. You could go to, remember, mermaid.live for this one. This one's just plantuml.com. Submit. Bippity boppity. You got the whole user journey right there.
That's
incredible. And honestly, like, that's pretty production ready, if you ask me. Like, that would be no different than you put it out in PNG, vector format, turn it into ASCII art if you want. I mean, like, whatever. That's pretty production ready, if you ask me. But at least at a minimum, if you had to say, give that to a graphic designer to make something fancy for a PowerPoint slide, or you want to convey some complex information in a more visual, like that's what you would give them. Hey, this is the framework. So yeah, let's take it one step further here, since we're just talking about this type of stuff. So ChatGPT can call APIs into it sometimes. So let's stay with our little theme here with Jasmine and her travel blog, right? So this is a prompt. Now I'm going to preface it. It don't always work quite right, or sometimes you need to like rearrange it, and sometimes it just doesn't even listen to the input keywords, right? Let's say a picture of New York City. It's going to call the Unsplash API here, which is for royalty-free images, right? You can use them anywhere. You have to use this phraseology in Markdown without backtickets, or else it will say it can't do it, or will just output the link to the picture. So let's see if we can get it to play nice. Ta-da!
Let's go.
So sometimes it'll just be like totally off. And sometimes if you regenerate it a couple times, you get different ones. You can ask it to do it again. But super simple way of just like, okay, you could just kind of keep dimensions that you need. You know, very, very helpful if you're, say, building some social media content and you want to slot something right in.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like the last thing we could do, well, there's two more things I'll show. Someone will be like, okay, I need a logo for the blog shaped like a suitcase. The SVG code for a suitcase shaped purple logo. So SVG is a vector file, so that's what common vectors are. Logos and things like that are done in. So things like Adobe Illustrator, anything like that. It basically just takes all the little subshapes and makes some parameters that you can mess with, right?
Yep.
So you can go to like svgviewer.gev. There we go.
There we go. Yeah.
You know, so you can play with these. You can make, you know, stuff higher, lower, you know, and mess with that. But while this might not be production ready, like think of how you could use that for conceptualizing a vision and then communicating what you're trying to achieve to one of your coworkers or one of your peers or one of your subordinates. Like, I want this as opposed to a suitcase shaped image. It's purple. It's going to save so much time through that ideation process. And something like this too, they have a directory of just like common shapes and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah.
But you can ask it multiple times. Okay, change this. All right, SVG code. Now I want it yellow. Now I want it to be bigger, taller, anything. That's just another example you can drop right inside of ChatGPT. Here, I'll just do one more that's just kind of silly. I'll do it in 3.5. It works fine. Oh, it can also call in GIFs. So, hey, you want to play Pokemon right in here?
I didn't know that. I was just like thinking about playing some Pokemon today, so now I can do it. Yeah, I can do it with ChatGPT now.
Thunderbolt. Like it works, you know?
Yeah.
So critical hit, and then it'll keep going until I've killed it, and then it does another. It can do another one. Oh no, we retaliated, shaking the battlefield. Anyway, so I just bring that up because like, if it understands this, and you want to then create a whole business out of that, like a text-based game, you know, in a wrapper, you could use something like this site, Prompt Perfect, one of our partners, right, has some tools in it to deploy prompts as a service. Okay, so that would take that same, and we can even try it. I have one queued up in here already though. This one I think is to create a rap battle in the style of Wild 'N Out. I mean, I'm probably showing my age by even like mentioning that to some of you, but that was a show that was on MTV back in the day on this thing called a television.
MTV was awesome.
You used to have to watch shows at certain times they were on.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's the back end of that prompt. It'll have these little front end input variables, and you can test it. Okay. Oh, here, let me go back to the deployment screen. Let's say Jay-Z and Eminem. Okay, test run. So this is just inside this window. They give you the tool to switch out any model here.
Yeah.
You even do image prompts. And then you click on deploy over here, right? Call this as a service via curl, Python, JS. Take that code, put it in code interpreter, and say, generate me a simple web page layout in JavaScript, use a JavaScript viewer, or to convert that into CSS, drop that right on top of a WordPress site. You don't need to be a coder to do any of that. It's just, you got to know the flow, and then you have a site that, hey, has 2 input fields. People can put their names in and get a rap battle. I mean, like, yes, kind of silly, but think of that if you did a site with 15 different windows and all of them had a social media prompt in there.
Yeah.
To create like a social media dashboard subscription service. One does the YouTube titles, one does the TikTok script, one does the hashtags for LinkedIn, all from the same keyword inputs. It just generates 15 different things at a time. Like, that's how you could set something up like that. So this is a really, really cool service that can kind of now operationalize your ChatGPT into actual businesses. It has some features like Streamline, where you can actually have different models handle different parts of a prompt sequence. So you can do more complex type things like parse a lot of text with Claude, because it has a longer context window.
Yeah.
And then do some of maybe the describing or analytics with GPT-4, right? You got to put in your, so I think Prompt Perfect, they use a credits-based system for all their calls, but it's very affordable. And, you know, you could 100x some of these with a clever niche case or something like that. Here, I'll just show off kind of a example prompt real quick that parses text really, really well. Where did I put it? All right. Okay, so this is a prompt specifically for structuring unstructured information. So say I had a huge, messy, long email string, which I'm sure we all get at some point. We get added to an email string in progress. And we're like, whoa, I'm not reading 100 messages to figure out like what the hell is going on here. So ChatGPT or Claude, some of these models with longer context windows are really, really, really good for something like this. So this one, dumping in literally like just unstructured email information. See all that?
Yeah.
Like just mess. Doesn't matter.
It is, yeah, but
See, like it's just gonna take that unstructured text and begin to add structure to it. Okay, here's the important parts from that information. Okay, here's the main takeaways, the steps, and you can obviously change what you're looking for here. So from that whole mess, it gives you order to discipline.
Let's go. Awesome.
So then it's expanding on it, exactly what was chatted about up here completely randomly. So where this can be really, really valuable if you have, say, a transcript of a meeting, right? You have all this text, multiple speakers, take it all, dump it in something like Claude or GPT-4 with a long context window, and then say, okay, tune this prompt we gave you up here to give the example sections that you want, or what kind of things specifically you're looking for. Hey, what are the next steps and takeaways? What were the deliverables that were talked about? Whatever. Perfect way you could do this right inside of ChatGPT. There's other ways and services now to do this that cost some money, but one of which that's been super valuable for us is something called Fireflies, right? So I do 2 things with Fireflies. One, it records every meeting I'm in, right?
Yeah.
It just finds a link. If it's on your calendar and has a link to a meeting, it will join that meeting, right? And it will listen. You got to tell people, hey, just you cool with the AI transcriber in here? But what we've done, I have a team of about 15 people that are across, half a dozen time zones. So often, if I'm the one meeting with clients, I'm the source of truth. I'm the barrier. I'm the thing, as I say, the long pole in the tent, the thing holding everything up. They need information from me to do their next task, right? Now we have a workflow where it'll from the notebook here, right? This gives you the opportunity to integrate with different apps or create integrations, right? So if you have it linked to your project management site, we use Monday, or your Notion board, okay, it'll take the link to that conversation and post it right inside of Monday. So it'll know, okay, I've parsed through it. This meeting was about this project. I'm going to post it to that board. So now my developers just click on the meeting link, and all they need to do is chat with it. Here's a chat that's top layer fine-tuned on everything that was talked about in the meeting.
That is incredible, yeah.
So what were the 3 next steps? And this has suggestions. You can, when you do those integrations, you can put in your custom prompts.
Firefly is such a good tool. I've been using it for a little bit now, but I see how much is useful for like the daily routine. Is something incredible.
Yeah, it's slow because it's parsing through all this, and you can actually set the capability of Fred here. You can make him super advanced. So there you go. There's my 3 next steps. Right? So now the way we use that is my developers, I don't have to directly update them on a call. We have a weekly sync to make sure we're all lined up, but they can just keep working when they see, oh, Wes had a meeting, client update meeting with this client. What were the takeaways? What are stuff that we need to consider? You know, just kind of have that interactivity. This is also fantastic if you just want to chat with yourself, you know, have kind of unstructured, you know, every time I'm in the car, I just start a meeting with myself on Zoom with Fireflies and just kind of ramble. You know, okay, here's stuff I'm thinking about, whatever.
Yeah.
You can take that same rambling, put it in that prompt that we just saw, and Bob's your uncle, some order to the unstructured kind of, you know, free flow. I try to do it every time in the car, you know, stuff about business or things I'm thinking about or ideas, you know, and then if it's something valuable, I'll parse through it, or you can even I probably should set up an integration for it, honestly. It just does it anyway. Parse through it and give the tasks out. So, you know, walking the dog, you're thinking about your day, right? You're thinking about the stuff you got to do. Why not tell the AI all of that stuff so it's sitting ready for you in your Google workspace as a checklist as soon as you get to work? You know, I mean, the possibilities here are just like, you know, whatever you can think of. It's pretty sweet. So this is a tool that I wholeheartedly subscribe to and endorse. Encourage any of you guys to check it out. I think I have some affiliate links too that'll get you some stuff off if interested. But yeah, this is one that I cannot say enough about. It's totally changed the way I work and like taken my stress level down like so many notches, because now everyone's not trying to get something from me. They know where they can go get it. It may need some clarification. That's fine, you know, but you can customize stuff. I mean, it also gives you good feedback too as like a speaker.
Yeah, the feedback part is really nice. Yeah.
It's probably not when I'm just rambling with myself, but you know, again, just a little example of a productivity hack there. Let's see, I took a couple more down. I don't want to take all your guys' time. I'll just show one quick prompting technique here to help you guys generate longer form content. As you probably know, if you've ever asked ChatGPT to just like make a blog post, right? Hey, I want a 2,000 word blog post. It doesn't give you 2,000 words by any sense of the imagination, right? But you can use a technique called recursive reprompting, where you treat the output from one prompt, you turn it into a variable, and have the follow-on prompt read that previous variable for context. So you can kind of recursively build a blog post in such a way that would actually be kind of like how you write it, not just saying, hey, make it. So you could take some stuff like, say, that big rambling, you know, ideation that you just had in Fireflies, the tones inside of this text, and say it extracts something like this: supportive, professional, relatable, whatever. You can say, okay, I want you to learn and understand these. now that you understand this information, label it as tone. You can also, instead of the actual word tone or the word, capitalized, kind of simulating a variable, you can actually use emojis. Emojis works really well too. So you can be like, label this as, peach emoji.
Yeah.
Right? And then what you'll do is in the next prompt, okay, you're going to refer to that previous variable. So I didn't do the style prompt, so I'll take that out. Okay. So let's say we're going to do a post about being a Twitch streaming media influencer. This is an actual job we did for a client. Okay. We're going to create some banter. That was one of the steps in the scribe method. And it's going to use that tone variable constantly as context. Okay, so doing some different titles. Okay, can select it or roll again. Let's say I like title 3. Okay, now it labels that title as chosen title, turns it into a variable. Okay, you keep going. Okay, who might be my audience? Here's chosen audience. Going to do the same thing. So you're building that structure, you're building that style like into what's going to be created. Okay, so here's some possible audiences. It's going to ask me for a couple of them. Select 3. Let's say I want 1, 4, and 8. Okay, chosen audience is labeled. Okay, now you can start building. So let me get this. So this is the intro prompt, right? And it's easier to send. So giving it that role, right? High-end article writer, speaks fluent English. Okay, give it that context. All right, then instructions. I want you to write this, and you're going to use, the article is going to be about that variable, right? You're going to use your chosen audience. I didn't do a style one, but tone inputs in that. I'm going to give you guys a little yummy takeaway that we put together, this ChatGPT Master Reference Guide. It's just got tons of good shit to put in your prompts. And one of it that's very helpful, if you want to fool AI content detectors, even though they're pretty notoriously unreliable, this little string of words tends to do it. But if it doesn't, the little cheat code is if you ask it to perform one or two common spelling mistakes every 250 words, and then give it examples, like a few shot example of like Y-O-U-R instead of Y-O-U''re. Another one that I like to do if I need to get a little sneaky with it, that people never notice, is you vary between the British English and the American English for double consonants before ED. So like paralleled in British English and American English is spelled differently.
Yeah.
It's 1 L versus 2 L's before the ED. And people, when you're reading it, you don't even notice.
Correct.
Right. Oh, yes. See, exactly. I mean, you did just like saying the word aluminium is absolutely correct. But you did invent the language. I got to give you that. Yeah, that's an easy one to kind of sneak around that. This also has it very different styles and lengths. You can get really, really crazy with it. So then, all right, it starts to do its thing. Introduction registered. So you can keep going from there. I'm happy to give people this prompt too. It's got a pretty much, you could go from one keyword or like one article to like consistently above like 2,000 words, probably 2,000 to 3,500, depending on how many times you like loop through. But you'll next build an outline. Always do an outline for any long form content, because if you're going to have the model do the outline, have to structure and create the content, it tends to be harder. So this recursive technique, we just kind of start adding another Lego brick. We add, okay, from the outline, generate the topic sentences. From the topic sentences, generate 3 bullet points for each paragraph. You know, from each paragraph, okay, now label paragraph for paragraph 1, expand like this style, you know, and so on and so forth until you have something that's complete. Super powerful for content generation.
It's amazing.
Yeah, man. So last thing I'll show, just another fun tool. We were in it before. This is Gamma. It's an AI presentation tool. So it's embedded in here. So I can do stuff like reformat the cards on the fly into different types of formats. Here, let's go one with some information in it. Highlight something. And you could rewrite this for a 5-year-old.
Nice. And you can even change tone and stuff like to fit the presentation. That's incredible.
So it has a feature where we could say, take an outline and generate the prompt entirely. So then here's your simplified version. There's the original, simplified. Okay. You know, you click on this whole thing. You could say, all right, layout options. It has a bunch of different fun shit. And then, like, let's do this. Just take this because we made it already. Sorry for jumping around. Pop over here. You can do a create new, where you can paste in notes or even upload a slide or just give it a web page. And here's your prompt. Give it instructions. Say we want it for sales and education or whatever. Make it a little longer. Image license, free to use commercially, model, large, generate. Okay, pick your theme. Let's do this one, groovy. Continue. And while I will fully admit, like it's not production ready, like this exports to PowerPoint, you know?
Okay.
So even if you don't use that, I mean, like it's not bad. It's not a bad starting point.
Indeed, yeah, you can get at least a template that is really useful. Like,
yeah. And like I wasn't doing it during this presentation, but you can put it in presentation view and it'll look like a slideshow, you know, like you're typically used to.
That looks
but like,
amazing. Yeah.
It looks so nice, like so much nicer than you would make. Like, and you can dynamically change each of these. Oh, I want that as a vertical or a horizontal timeline instead of vertical. Add a picture to this. You know, so I mean, it's doing its best guess. I don't know what that means, but like, you know, whatever. If you it gets you to 80% really fast. Super helpful tool. I don't think I will ever make a PowerPoint slide again in 16 years of like doing that in business and becoming pretty proficient at it. Like I will never touch it again.
And I really like that they like attach images to it as well. So like it's a really complete thing. It's like really impressive.
It's only gonna get better.
Yeah, it is.
Only gonna get better.
Indeed,
like they're on the cusp of it being able to take some data and then make the chart for it right inside of there too. You know, I've seen some tools that do it. This one I just find is a little more elegant. I think the thing that they're lacking right now is the ability to like upload your own like style template or your brand kit or something like that. You have to kind of play in their playing field. I mean, it's still fine. You can change all these images out and everything like that, you know, but now, but like you just did a 10 slide PowerPoint in what, 30 seconds maybe, you know, from something that you generated. I mean, like, come on.
That is really cool. Isn't
that great?
Yeah, it is.
This one to me is worth, if we do all our research prospectuses in here, we do everything. And if you noticed from the other one, it functions like a web page. So it's interactive. So if I'm down here, I can drop in videos. You guys saw, I think already, like this is, gallery view. It can go through different stuff like that, even in presentation mode. Link to other sites, no problem. Or even drop in. Sorry. you can even drop in little instances, little chatbots. I guess that'll be the last thing. I've already gone over time, but this will be the last thing I show you guys. Another one of our partners that I just, they're fantastic for what it allows you to do. Site called GPT Trainer. Okay. You can create fine-tuned top layer chatbots basically instantly.
Really? I was trying
yeah.
to look for something like this. Let me get this one.
Yeah.
Like,
I'll give you guys the super good code for it too.
Awesome.
I mean, we have the business plan. It allows us to deploy unlimited chatbots. You can make it so it can only work on certain domains, right? Make it private, public, leverage one of the 3 models.
okay.
Rate limit it so someone doesn't try to like abuse it on the site you put it on. Adjust the temperature. Okay. Enable citations. That's super great because if you put a bunch of source information in here, right? So you can add sources from your files, add a website, add a sitemap, Q&A, training files. So if you have a bunch of Q&As, have all that stuff right there. Put your prompts, enter your temperature. You can even collect personal, the information. So if it's something that's like on a website, play with some of the colors here, change the order. And then when you hit deploy, okay, you can either embed it directly in one of these things. It's going to be in Slack soon, which I'm super excited about. They're showing us that at a call this week. But yeah, slap it right on top of WordPress, your Shopify site, Squarespace, Wix, or just embed as you specify the domain you want, and it'll give you the iframe code.
Yeah.
So that's what I do here for this. It's for Gamma, and I could say, teach me about AI, and you can even give it a context window where it's like it's not gonna reply to stuff if you bracket it.
Nice.
Someone is asking you about ice cream flavors on a website about Twitch streaming. You can prevent it from even replying as such.
Got it.
So this is a super, super good tool
Yes.
for quickly spinning up chatbots that essentially, again, can be entire websites in and of themselves. Last plug I'll make. I will share the GitHub for this too as well. But this is a
That's
prompt
cool.
we developed called Professor Synapse, and it functions like software. Okay. So this is a dynamically generated multi-agent orchestrator prompt. So it can basically help you develop ideas about anything. So you don't even necessarily need to do all that prompt engineering stuff. You can just kind of go, okay, well, what's your goal?
That is really
Teach
interesting.
me
And you
about-
built this, Wes? Just confirming, is this something that you developed? Like I see.
Me and my team. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Like, congrats on it. It's really interesting, bro.
Yeah, I could share the video with it. So what it's doing right now, this is the orchestrator, the agent that's kind of sitting up on high. It's asking me a little bit about, how I like to learn. I like to watch videos. Okay, so that's going to make sure anything that I get later on is more visual or at least descriptive visually. There's some good research coming out from Stanford that we were able to contribute to, that this type of style is going to be how we get customized, bespoke tutors via AI. So yeah, sounds good. Yes. Okay, so now it's going to create an expert based on what we asked it. So it's going to
Awesome.
create that entire scribe method for us to help us accomplish that task. So it's like, okay, I'm going to follow these steps, which I think would work. Does this plan sound good? You could go yes or no, or add to it, iterate from there. Okay, actually I want a little bit more. So now it's going to teach me.
That's really cool.
And then if you're worried about context length, you can hit this little save button or hit type /save, and it'll summarize everything that it's read prior to that and use that recursive reprompting technique to go as an input, so you can kind of continue a long conversation outside of a context window. It's kind of spoofing it. It's not a guarantee, but that's a summary of what it's done so far. And if it kind of gets off track a little bit, you can do the reason, and it kind of it does the SMART goal of what they've talked about so far. Kind of gives you like where we were at. This is super powerful. I'm happy to share this with y'all and get under the hood. If you want to start creating either things to help you learn that's maybe about a specific subject, or even stuff that's like, how do I say it? Really complex multi-part problems that would take kind of some different perspectives to work through, like ideating and coming up with ideas. Like, this is such a cool prompt to do so. Okay.
Awesome.
Talk for enough. I got maybe let me make sure I'm good on time, but I should have a little bit of time for questions.
All right. Perfect. Wes, that was so insightful. I really need to thank you for this whole presentation, this whole actually lecture that you just gave us. What a special moment for the community. And yeah, so as Wes mentioned, we are opening for questions. I don't know if anyone got some. Just raise your hands in case you do. But that was really, really impressive. Also, Diego sent us something regarding Corridor Crew. Already did a couple of episodes of anime generated with AI regarding to South Park. So that was really, really cool. Thank you, Diego. And yeah,
Nice.
I don't know if someone has a question, then we can just answer it, or if so, we just can wrap it up. Yeah, Carlos, please. Yep. I'm not hearing you, Carlos.
Maybe he's got mic issues. If anybody else got something.
Yeah, I'm not quite
sure. Yeah, the guide that you've got for ChatGPT, the mastering, can I steal that?
Yes, you may.
Thank you.
That's the point. I'm making a little list of links and stuff for Gene to promulgate out as he so fits. I also have a same one. We didn't really talk about image prompting today, but I'm happy to share the Midjourney one too. It's pretty much the same style with a bunch of killer info.
And
awesome, thank you.
Yeah, that was really useful. I mean, as you were like showing and doing the whole presentation, the whole chat here was just like really, really immersed in it, and was a really cool experience. I'm not quite sure, because Carlos got out probably because of the mic. I think he'll be joining soon, but as you mentioned, schedule-wise, I know it's tight. Wes, feel free to share links, tell about where we can find not only more content of you, but also your courses, everything. If you don't mind, I'm recording this, so maybe we can further upload it and share with the community even more. And yeah, have your links, please. Yeah, that would be great.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, you can check us out on our LinkedIn, SynthMinds AI. I got a podcast with my pal Goda, How to Talk to AI. We post that on YouTube too. We do a newsletter. I got my great partners over at Synaptic Labs. We do a lot of the educational content that we have on like the Uplimit platform. And then if you really want to see how deep the rabbit hole goes, come visit us at synthminds.ai and, let's cook up a project, man. Like, that's what it's about.
That's what it's about. And not only the podcast is really good, but also, as I mentioned, everything that Wes is producing is really interesting. So definitely check it out. And yeah, I mean, you guys saw it. You saw the magic happening. The guy knows his stuff. And
I guess so.
Yeah, what an amazing meetup. I mean, that's the way we start here. Quality content, quality engagement as well. I don't know, Carlos, you came back. Do you want to still ask the question as soon as we have time? Yeah, Diego just said too much info to process. Awesome, yeah. It's recorded, so we can check it out later.
You're going to need to, that's why you got that. That's why I taught you how to parse through the text.
Yeah, we should have invited Fireflies here so we can go like everything.
That we should have.
Well, yeah, Carlos, feel free if you have your question as well, so we...
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you now, Carlos.
Oh, nice. Hi, everyone. I have a question. I'm creating a chatbot, so what is the best LLM platform, open source, to create a chatbot now, for example, instead of ChatGPT?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of depends on what your purpose is. if you have a chatbot that's trying to make big, long responses, I would say, hey, Claude kind of keeps it easy with their API. You might have to route it through something like Prompt Perfect. If one of the downsides, and they have intentions of doing it. Our friends at GPT Trainer, we only have the OpenAI models right now, but more are going to be added versus the solution over at Prompt Perfect. The llama models that have just come out, the 7 billion parameter one is kind of weak sauce. The 13 billion parameter one ain't bad for a chatbot, honestly. Like, I was pretty surprised. And that's something that you could run like on your laptop.
Yeah, and they have a 70 billion one, right?
70 billion one you got to apply for. It's definitely, like, in some, if you fine tune it, I think it's actually better than GPT-4 for very specific use cases. I respect how Zuck is doing AI stuff right now, where he's just like putting it on Front Street. Everyone can play with it, open source, and, change the world kind of thing. Like, it feels alive over there,
Indeed, yeah.
Nice, thank you.
Thank you, Wes. Yes, Santi, please.
Hey everyone. Awesome presentation, Wes. I have a question. Do you know any LLM, either open source or not, that has the ability to give completely deterministic answers regarding the same input every time? Because I know that's super hard because of the nature of how they work and the facts that is like probabilities.
Right.
But maybe there is one. I don't know.
There's plenty of research going into it, but really the way you achieve that, and I don't think you'll ever achieve perfection because there's just always going to be some outliers, but you can get close to it. You have to use embeddings inside your vector database, and then have kind of multiple little layers of evaluation between what that prompt is trying to respond with and what the user actually sees. So the way we handle it, and this is going to be a boom of companies in the next couple months and years that just do this error handling kind of layer, because AI will get spun up. Big companies will spend all this money to get AI spun up and realize, it's not deterministic. It's doing a little different answer every time. So there'll be companies that will basically try to bracket that, make it a little smaller sandbox for the language model to pay in. The way we try to achieve closeness is we have another model assess the prompt for accuracy. And in that model, in its prompt, has regular old dynamically injected vector databases that it has to index. So, like, for example, if it tries to cite an instruction that isn't, the instruction title isn't in the database, but it wants to cite something in the prompt response, like it's making up an instruction, we won't let it do that. It'll get arbitrated. So, nope, try it again, go back. So we have something that does that. And then the way we try to kind of overcome it is our kind of like God mode view for when we have a SaaS product deployed. It has this table where the admin can see the date, time stamp, the message went in, what the user's response was, how the response that the model used to basically evaluate it the first time, right? And then what we do is kind of try to catch the outliers iteratively. We give an input field where that admin or that expert can go, well, this is what the response should have been, because maybe it's incorrect information or incomplete. And it'll put that information back into the database with a little bit of extra weight on it. So over time, the model's kind of errors get a little trained out of it because it's just looking, it sees that same info, but it's weighted a little differently. I'm going to grab that instead. So no elegant answer, but if you figure it out, man, let's start a company, because that's going to be the big thing.
Awesome. Wes, I think we have one last question from Alexander. He wrote in the chat, Wes, this was amazing. A lot of really, really great info you shared with us. Highly appreciated.
Brad.
Thanks, Jean, for organizing the great meetup. Thank you very much. Wes, can you bypass hallucinations from ChatGPT? Actually, just from GPT, asking it to provide the source and what he's basing it the answer.
So super glad you asked this. There's a research paper out today that I will put on there. I have it. I just looked at a quick summary today. But you put at the beginning of your prompt, answer according to, and then the source that you know it's been trained on to help eliminate hallucinations within that prompt. So here, I'm going to drop a blog post one of our guys just did on it into the resources that Gene's going to be able to share. But I can also put it in the chat here right now. So the way you can kind of think of it is like, so with some examples, if you have a legal question, say, based on rulings in the Harvard Law Review, ask your prompt. In medicine, according to the World Health Organization's latest reports, even though that's general, but that's at least going, oh, okay, I got to play with this training data. Finance, as per the insights from Bloomberg's market data, as highlighted in the Harvard Business Review, like these are things that we know were in its training text that are sources of truth and insight in the world. So you could try different ones of those, kind of like, okay, what's an actual expert source of this? Let me use that. Especially if it's like a government source, like public data, like that probably was in the training set, It's not going to guarantee that it's going to grab it, but I think it'll limit it down. And from what it shows in the paper, it's some really, really compelling results, like 50% better responses just by putting, based on that evidence from Wikipedia. You're an expert editor for Wikipedia. Based on this, like adding that kind of little layer into it. So
yeah, amazing tip. And Ashwin, please, your Hazer here's your time. Yeah.
So I just want to thank everyone for organizing this meet, especially Gene and Williams. It was a very informative. It was very informative session, I learned a lot. And happy to be. I'm happy to be part of this community and expecting a lot from you guys in the near future. And I'll contribute myself too. Thanks a lot.
What it's about.
That's awesome.
The AI tide is strong. It will lift all boats, but only if we can kind of lash together.
Exactly. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Ashwin. That was really, really cool from you and from everyone. So yeah, I think that was really insightful. What a time. Wes, thank you very much, everyone, for the participation as well. I think Wes deserves a round of applause here. So we got in the middle of it, the emoji of the applause as well. So Wes, thank you very much. What an amazing time. Everything is properly recorded as well. So in case you want to revisit it or you want to eventually just watch it or send to a friend that would really use this information, feel free to do so. Again, everyone, thank you so much for being in this meetup. It was 1 hour and a half of pure knowledge with this beast of AI that is Wes. Thank you very much again. And yeah, you guys will hear a lot from him and from Gray Matter as well. And yeah, Wes, there's anything you would like to talk about in the end?
I think you hit it all. I'm putting together a little little takeaway doc for you to share all the links and stuff that I talked about and some codes and stuff so people can get some discounts.
All right. Seems awesome. Everyone, thank you so much for attending the meetup. And yeah, more will come. Looking forward to see everyone in the community now. And yeah, thank you very much, Wes, again. Everyone, okay, see you guys in Discord then and on all of our channels. Right. Thank you very much, all right?
Let's go. Thank you, guys. See ya.
Thank you. Bye.
See ya.